The Honorable Buthelezi.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for elucidating on this very important question. Yesterday's news is indeed a welcome development of a 3.3% economic growth. My further question, Honorable Minister, will be, one, what are the economic fundamentals that are required to be in place to stave off any future possible recession? And what other measures can be in place to enhance steady growth in the manufacturing sector going forward? Thank you.
Honorable the Minister.
Well, clearly, Madam Speaker, if we want an economy to grow, firstly, we must have the right level of confidence, as I indicated in my initial statement, from investors who believe both locally and overseas that we have a stable, predictable environment in which they can bring their money in. So are we as government, but also as all of the political parties and the general public, doing enough to create confidence in our economy, confidence in our ability to say to investors, you can come here, your money is safe, and indeed you will help us to create jobs in our environment. The second factor is actual growth in both local investment and FDI, and this is the work that in particular business, labor and government have been doing for the past 7 months to ensure that we project a national front in respect of ratings agencies, confidence building amongst local and foreign business, and we hope that we can actually sustain that. Let me also say that whilst we survived, inverted commas, the first round of ratings, we are now about to enter the second round of ratings exercises. The first of the ratings agencies visits us at the end of September, the second sometime in November, and the third early in December. And again, we will be endeavoring as government to work with social partners, and it's a conversation that we need to have within this chamber as well. How do we present a united national interest front which will ensure that we can stave off a ratings downgrade again? The third is that we require those sectors of the economy that are underdeveloped, so for example, medium and small sized businesses, and those sectors that find themselves in difficulty over a medium-term period, like mining and agriculture, to be boosted in some kind of way. And fourth, remove the policy uncertainty and create a regulatory environment which will ensure that the ease of doing business in South Africa is actually one that everybody can see we are increasing in some kind of way. Finally, it's up to us to get the politics of this country right in order that we show to the world that we actually understand the link between a political environment to which all of us contribute and an economic environment that generates the right kind of confidence in ourselves and in the business sector in South Africa as well.
The Honorable Shibambu.
Thank you, Speaker. So the number of income earners in South Africa is drastically decreasing, meaning that we do not have as many people as possible who are involved in some sense of labor to earn income and provide for their families, meaning that poverty is increasing because there are so many people who are not employed. And manufacturing, I think that the WEF, the World Economic Forum, say that we have got a crisis now of automation and mechanization and also what they call it Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, where you have got manufacturing sector which is highly automated, doesn't absorb as much people as possible to work. How are you going to deal with that challenge? Because in South Africa, our crisis is that our people are not working, we do not have income earners. You can have an expanding economy in the manufacturing sector, but it's not employing people. How are you going to deal with that decisively so that we do not have the continued jobless expansion of the economy? And lastly, do you agree that there must be a judicial commission of inquiry on the banks for closing the bank accounts of the corrupt Gupta families? Can you please respond to those two questions?
The Honorable the Minister.
I thought we were talking about manufacturing, Honorable Shivambu. I mean, one can only but agree with Honorable Shivambu that the number of jobs created, whilst good in the first 20 years of our democracy, is not adequate to give us a situation where most employable people are employed, most people that can earn an income are earning their own income, and the dependency on the state is actually reduced. We can also agree with Honorable Shivambu that poverty ultimately is going to be resolved not through the kind of welfare safety nets that we have, but by making sure that every economically active or potentially economically active person is actually employed either in a self-created job or in a job created by industry. Manufacturing used to be, 17% of the overall GDP numbers, went down to 11%. It's probably still approximately in that range. And throughout the world, the real danger is that in an effort to increase productivity, robotics and technology is being relied upon. But in our recent participation in the G20 meetings over the weekend in China, it's becoming very clear that there's no direct relationship between the use of technology and creation of jobs. So there's no doubt that there's a crisis that we are heading for in the next 10 or 15 years, Madam Speaker, which would mean that there are less jobs created within the formal sector. Manufacturing in South Africa still has potential to grow, largely because the depreciated rand should be giving South African manufacturers a leg up. To some extent, you can begin to see it in the numbers, but we need to also ask some serious questions about whether, as a society and as an economy, we are enterprising enough, dynamic enough, and have the right sense of urgency to seize opportunities that exist both within South Africa and outside. An area that we don't emphasize sufficiently, that we should focus on a lot more, it comes through the G20 discussions as well, is the small, micro, and medium-sized businesses. We need to do a lot more to support entrepreneurs, give them access to finance, create a supportive environment in our municipalities, and now that our municipalities are governed by parties other than my own in some areas, let's see what we can do in this regard, and we'll be interested to watch the evidence that actually emerges. Banking regulation is part of the brief that the Ministry of Finance has, and as far as we are concerned, we are compliant as South Africa, and amongst the best compliant, with international requirements which emerge both from the crisis, the Financial Stability Board, and other bodies incorporated in or accountable to the G20 forum. And our standards of regulation are as best as they can be. In some instances, we have regulations imposed upon emerging markets like our own because of factors that have been affecting advanced economies that are not really to our benefit. But we have fora such as the FSB and others where we can actually raise these sorts of issues. I think we also have the banking ombud, who has certain powers which perhaps need to be reviewed if there are customers that have problems with the banks. So as far as financial institutions are concerned, there's a difficult balancing act. Let me be frank, Madam Speaker. And the balancing act is between ensuring that there's stability in this sector, that it is well regulated, and that it doesn't constitute a risk to the country's economy and to the fiscus, as we've learned from the 2008, 2009 financial crisis. On the other hand, we need to be equally very aware that the banking sector can run away with itself. Its charges might be excessive, its customer service might be poor, its market conduct might be questionable, and as far as that is concerned, let's have a debate about whether we need to tighten the regulatory requirements. And before Parliament right now, Madam Speaker, is the Twin Peaks proposal and legislation, which is directed at ensuring that we have far stronger market conduct mechanisms in South Africa rather than the kind of fragmented arrangement that we currently have. So looking forward, I think we'll be in a much better place to ensure that consumers are given the right kind of deal on the one hand, and at the same time, the indispensable role of a well-run financial services sector is one that is maintained in line with both international standards and our own national interest in what is required here. And it's that balancing act that we, as the Ministry of Finance, who has the responsibility for stability within this sector, which we've assigned to the South African Reserve Bank as part of the banking regulators' mandate, which is financial stability. We will watch that area carefully. It's going to evolve over the next few years in line with the Twin Peaks legislation and other international and local arrangements. And let's see how that serves future generations better. Thank you.
The Honourable Mainir.
Thank you, Speaker. Will the Minister concede that that domestic political developments, including the disastrous appointment of the Minister of Mineral Resources to investigate the termination of financial services to Oak Bay, and which we all note the Minister of Finance refused to participate, does this not undermine investor confidence and in part explain why the economy is on the brink of recession in South Africa?
The Honourable the Minister.
So firstly, let's not use recession as this bogey person. Right. I don't think anybody in this House belonging to any political party wants to talk South Africa's economy into a recession. And at that level, we have to put we need to put national interest first. So, and I'm addressing Honourable Mainir. The second is, in every country, you're going to have both economic events, political events, and social events that will create mini crises from time to time. And it's the resilience of our institutions, it's the resilience of our systems that will actually ensure that we can survive these crises and move beyond them. Crises don't last forever. And that's why institutions are so important. That is why the leadership that we put into institutions are so important. Because not only do they have to serve the present, they also have to create conditions for those institutions to survive into the future. And the more of us who realize that, the importance of institutions, the better it is for the richness of our democracy, not the richness of the pockets of some people, but the richness of our democracy, so that that democracy serves all of the citizens of the country that we actually live in. And for the record, I didn't refuse to participate in this 3-person or 4-person committee. The logistics didn't work out in the right kind of way, and therefore I was unable to make what would have been a justifiable contribution to the outcomes of this structure.
The Honourable Singh.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Minister, I can't agree with you more when you say that we need to establish an environment that promotes the right level of confidence. And indeed, our institutions, the resilience of our institutions are tried and tested. And whilst we applaud the second quarter growth of 3.3%, in this quarter here, which has avoided us from recession, the question remains, Honourable Minister, how do we sustain such growth? And how do we avoid falling into a technical recession, particularly when your office and you in particular seem to be under multiple threat from various quarters? Markets and exchange rates enjoy certainty. And at this moment in time, there is this level of uncertainty in foreign direct investment coming into the country. What is the solution, Honourable Minister?
The Honourable the Minister.
Well, let us once again confirm that whether we are in South Africa or anywhere else in the world, confidence is the key to investment by anybody in an economy. None of us is going to put our 1,000 rands into an environment where you're not sure you're going to get it back. And so I think the more of us who understand what confidence means, how you generate confidence, and how we can all make a direct and meaningful contribution to that, that will be helpful to the country as a whole. How do we sustain? Now, don't read too much into the 3.3. It's only one quarter. If you average it out over the year, we're still in a sub 1% zone as an economy. Our aim should be to continue to create conditions depending on what external circumstances allow and internal circumstances allow, to reach the 5% that the National Development Plan speaks about. But there are very serious circumstances right now globally. For example, the US, I see in the Financial Times today, you still have people on the US Federal Reserve who are arguing for an increase in interest rates. The minute the US increases interest rates, financial flows change, volatility of a higher order begins to return and creates an environment that you can't find actually predictable. Secondly, we've done a lot of business with Africa, and we should be doing more. But today, Africa is growing for this year at 1.6%, and for the first time, it's lower than some of the advanced economies. Next year, Africa picks up again as a whole above 3%, so that's a good sign, unless something happens to decrease those growth numbers as well. Thirdly, you have Brexit and all the unpredictability that comes with Brexit. Fourthly, you have a recession in two of the major BRICS countries, Russia and Brazil, which hopefully will, they will move out of that in the coming year. And internally, we still have to undertake some massive restructuring and transformation of our economy. The majority of our country is still marginalized in terms of our economy. The majority of our people in South Africa don't even get easily accessible finance to start a business, let alone become big-time entrepreneurs in our environment. We have repeatedly pointed out to ourselves by international agencies that we have excessive product market concentration in South Africa. It means we have lots of oligopolies, large firms, few firms that dominate important sectors of our economy. We should start discussing about how do you restructure an economy like that, and how do you change that environment. We still have spatial arrangements in our cities that are still akin to the apartheid era. That needs to change in order to change both the geography and the demography and the relationship between the two, but more importantly, how we create business and other opportunities for our people as well. So yes, the nonsense that's going on, which is relevant to another question that will come later, so let me address it then, is in respect of the Treasury or myself, is not, I think, to the benefit of this country, but let me address some of those issues when we come to that question, if Honorable Singh doesn't mind. Thank you.
We